الالماني. تعال يا معلم.
Don't touch them! 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 Knock it off! Knock it off!
Hands up! Hands up!
Just hold on to my back.
Okay, okay.
Hold on to my
Okay.
back.
Yeah, mate, I'll take it. If I'm gonna run, mate, I'll just deal with this shit and then, oh, wait.
Ok, ici on va pousser sur nos jambes doucement. Et même chose, notre plus belle sculpture, c'est la jambe gauche se redresse. On vient toucher le ciel, on prend l'énergie de la lumière ici aujourd'hui. Respirez. Magnifique, posez le pied gauche. On va sans bouger tous nos mains pivotier. Mais par contre, la pointe du pied droit vers le ciel. On expire le pied droit entre vos deux mains.
Avant ce temps fort qu'on attend tous, qui va avoir lieu cet été, qui sont les Jeux Olympiques, j'ai eu très envie tout de suite de me dire, en fait, dans cette salle, on va les revisiter et on va danser et on va faire du sport et on va faire la rencontre de ces deux disciplines qui, pour moi, sont très similaires et qui partagent des valeurs très évidentes. Ce qui est intéressant, c'est que ces anciennes salles étaient déjà en mouvement, bien avant que ça devienne le musée que l'on connaît. C'est-à-dire que là, on se trouve dans les Cariatides, qui est une ancienne salle de bal des rois. Donc moi, quand j'ai visité le musée et que les conservateurs m'ont raconté ces histoires, évidemment, j'avais envie de les remettre en mouvement. Donc de savoir qu'ici, il y avait des balles à la belle époque, avec tout ce qu'on pouvait imaginer de fastueux et de génial, de me dire qu'on allait faire une soirée disco ici à 8h du matin, c'est juste du pain béni.
La beauté, l'expérience unique, le côté magique et un souvenir que je vais garder avec moi pour toujours.
Captura a un ciudadano por el delito de tráfico de fauna. El hombre se encontraba exhibiendo y comercializando una piel de oso polar, fauna exótica introducida de manera ilegal al país. El hallazgo se produjo en un establecimiento comercial ubicado en el barrio Centenario de la Comuna 2 de Cali. La autoridad ambiental determinó la originalidad y el tipo de especie. La piel fue incautada y fue dejada a disposición de la Fiscalía General de la Nación, al igual que la persona que es capturada por este delito.
For me personally, I was arrested at about the midway point in the group, and I was still leading chants. We were singing, and a police officer grabbed me, threw my phone from my hands because I was recording while it was happening, trying to document the arrest. The video is now gone. Arrested me, handcuffed. We were taken to paddy wagons out back, where then students rallied around the paddy wagons and tried to stop them from moving. We arrived, they replaced my plastic handcuffs with metal handcuffs, which is against protocol. I had bruises that have now largely gone away, but jail support documented them the night of. And we were denied water. We had 6 women in a cell made for 1 person. Crammed in there together for about 8 hours. It took hours to process and then hours before we were released. And this was all for a violation, essentially the equivalent of a ticket.
I don't know. It will not be published. Okay. Yes. Thank you guys for being patient about everything.
We had hundreds of students and community members rallying with jail support outside, so we were immediately received with hot food and drinks and medical checkups, as well as legal observers and checkups who processed all of our paperwork, made sure that we would have lawyers to follow up with us. I stayed until our last people were let out at about 11:30 p.m., I believe, and then I took the subway back up with 3 of my friends. We went to my apartment that I'm now evicted from, showered, and then I came right here.
Were you evicted as a result of the activism?
As a result of my interim suspension from Columbia, I received, initially they tried to evict me in 24 hours, gave me a 24-hour notice, which violates both the terms of my lease and New York State tenant law. We called them out on that, and now I've actually received a 30-day eviction notice as of the 17th, so as of the day that we launched our first encampment. That they've put all of these students through so much violence, so much psychological trauma. Many of our students now are afraid to come back to campus because the last time they were on campus, they experienced violent police brutality. So I think this university has truly traumatized numerous students and still refuses to even acknowledge, and is now once again threatening police sweeps against our student body. So has clearly not learned their lesson, and clearly still thinks they can somehow silence and criminalize us into submission. But if they try to sweep us again here today or tomorrow or the day after, I believe the students will come back even stronger. Our core demands are financial divestment, so all of the endowment, all of the investments that are complicit in Israeli apartheid and colonization being revoked, as well as financial transparency. That's been a demand from students, staff, and faculty dating back to the anti-apartheid divestment movement here at Columbia, which actually held an encampment just right over here in similar style that we modeled off of. And Columbia has continued to refuse to disclose its investments. We only have access to a small percentage that are available to the community. And just from that small percentage, we know that Columbia has invested in companies like Boeing, which makes the bombs that are dropping as we speak. The companies that create the F-16 planes that drop those bombs, companies that create the artificial intelligence surveillance technology that runs the drone system. So all of these are companies we know Columbia has invested in, and there's so many more that we can't even know yet. So that's why transparency is so important. I had just returned from Palestine in August, so I started at Columbia. I moved from Palestine to start my degree here. So I had left my community, my partner, a lot of my life in Palestine behind to do my master's here on the promise of Columbia, on the promise of a full scholarship to do Palestine studies, to pursue my passion around the intersection, I guess I would say, of human rights and social movements, which has been my background for many years now. And to come here for that explicit purpose, to feel like I had been recruited for that scholarship, for that work experience, where I'd been very transparent about all of my activism on Palestine over the years, my work history there, and to feel like Columbia recruited me to check a DEI box like they do with so many of our students. But then the moment what we wrote about, the scholarship, the theory became material in terms of our people experiencing a genocide, in terms of our university being actively a complicit actor in that genocide, who refuses accountability or the democratic will of the student body to divest. I think that is when this kind of tension on campus, for myself and for many other students, became untenable.
¿Cómo lo mantengo,
Y el zoom no se pixela. Mira. Vale. ¿A qué hora? Ahora. A pique no. A pique. La cosa es la pista, sí, Adri.
De primero o segundo no hay ninguno por ahí, chicos. De primero o segundo no hay ninguno por ahí.
Buenas a todos. Hola a todos. Empezamos en español and then we finish with English. No hay pruebas, pero como he dicho, no quiero dar cosas hechas al 100% porque ya lo di en Barcelona. Ya antes de cuando me retiré de Montecarlo dije que yo iba a poder llegar a Barcelona y no pude. Entonces eso fue doloroso por doble, no por dos. Entonces ahora mismo no quiero dar nada por hecho. Pero si siguen así las sensaciones, pues probablemente salte a pista. El no jugar, ha habido 2 torneos donde no has estado. Obviamente sería algo muy grande poder jugar la final con Rafa aquí en Madrid, no te voy a negar. Yo creo que para todo el mundo también desea ese partido. Ojalá se dé, pero bueno, al final el tenis es es complicado, cada día te puedes sentir de una manera, cada partido es un mundo, nunca puedes dar nada por ganado, nada por hecho, ¿no? O sea, tanto él, estoy seguro que va a luchar cada partido, porque él quiere estar en una final, obviamente, y más aquí en Madrid, que le hace ilusión, y por mí igual.
Esperemos que sí. ¿Crees que esta edición Casper Ruud y Stefanos Tsitsipas por sus finales en Monte Carlo y en Barcelona?
He's dangerous. He's really dangerous. He's the best player in the world right now. I think his tennis, probably everybody thinks that his tennis doesn't switch very well to clay, but he makes good results on clay as well. He can win every tournament he goes. And obviously I'm fighting with him, with Novak, to be in the first spot. And I'm trying to don't let them to stay there. Gracias. Ahora.
Ya empezamos con los soniditos raros.
Ya lleva un rato,
Mira, tú qué sabes.
¡Ay!
Otra.
Alberto, no me pares. Está tardando a ver ya como... Me lo da mi prima. ¿Dónde está Ceuta?
Pero es que tengo ficha a Javi, que está ahí.
Ya, pero si es un 2 para un
De hecho, no lo creo.
Joder, manda huevo. ¿Qué le fue? Ah, no iba a decir. Aquí le da la sombra, pues no le da la sombra.
Los saques tienen que ir a esos cuadros.
Sacamos la bolsa. No hagan una cosa. Ah,
¿Qué números son?
firme.
Vaya, a mí también. Me fue la cachorro. 10 minutos.
Es que de la nariz muy grande.
Of all of our collective identities on this very community, localized level.
I'm here especially on the first day of Passover because I believe that in this moment where we celebrate the liberation of our people, it is important to fight for the liberation of others.
I left it. Well, I haven't seen. I've seen a lot more coverage about this. Oh, I didn't know that. Have they said anything or just not said? Oh. Oh, so there was a signal there.
Yeah. Did you know that?
I and many other Jewish students on this campus do believe that it is our duty to step up because of our Jewish values, because we are a people who has been in diaspora for so long because we know what it feels like to be put into shtetls. We know what it feels like to be the victims of a genocide. And we believe that when we say never again, it means never again for anyone. And when we see this happening, even if it is people who are also Jews perpetrating it, especially because it is also Jews perpetrating it, it is our job to step in and make things right.
Into what you would consider anti-Semitism?
It's a good question, and it's something I think we're being forced to think about, is what is anti-Semitism, what's not anti-Semitism. I don't know, I'm personally not so bothered by a lot of the slogans. I don't see them as attacking me. I think other students interpret them as that, and I don't want to discredit that, but I personally don't.
Secured letters of recommendation. I have a great job. Those particularly happen, I think, within the Jewish community, and it particularly happens with younger students.
Right. I do think the claims are genuine, and I think it occurs, and I think it happens more than I'm probably willing to admit, and more than I want to admit. It's hard for me because I don't believe that people fundamentally hate Jews. That's hard for me to believe that my fellow person fundamentally hates Jews. I think people just don't know what they're saying. And I think we interpret that as anti-Semitism. And I think if we could extend kind of that understanding and empathy to one another more, which is what I try to do with the slogans. I don't think they want me to cease to exist as a Jew. I think this is just part of a greater maybe wave that they've jumped onto, and maybe they don't understand how that's being received. I do think there are people who genuinely hate Jews, but no one that I've personally met on this campus.
Like, could it be that they're just mad at Netanyahu and his government for...
A free and open exchange of dialogues between people who disagree vehemently. Well, I think it's really important to engage in that.
And when you're an Israeli student on this campus, you feel like you have a target on your back. You feel unsafe, and it's no wonder that students from Israel are so hesitant to come here. And that's clear ethnic discrimination. It's discrimination on the basis of nationality, and I think it's disgraceful.
That you not take photos inside.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. It's an incredible Framus guitar, 12-string, dating back to 1964. It's a German-made guitar, probably cost about 47 pounds, probably about less than $100 at the time. And of course, we're going to take it to auction, Darren.
That's right. Yeah, this guitar happens to be one of the most important Beatles guitar instruments ever to come to the auction block. It's John Lennon's.
George, yeah, George, the fans obviously enjoyed it over there.
Actually managed to steal yourself on these occasions. Yeah, but it's not a made up story, it's something that you're curating and you're making sure that it's I'll stand in its facility.
In the ballpark. They were friends with the Beatles and often played Beatles music, and the Beatles wrote music for the songs for them. And we get the call from this family, the son, that said that the parents were moving house, senior, and downsizing from a two-story with attic into a single-level bungalow-style home. And so during the move, they discovered that this guitar, which they knew they owned at one stage, but thought they had lost it. And suddenly they had this guitar, and they called us.
History, right?
Oh no, this
and the good thing is, you guys like exactly
for 20 years plus. It's still like over to like their kids.
yeah, but it's not a made up story. It's something that you're curating and you're making sure that.
So Peter and Gordon was the band that were very friendly with the Beatles and played some of the Beatles songs. And so Gordon was gifted it from John Lennon. Then Gordon gifted it to his road manager. And that's where the guitar stayed for all these years. It's like very little chain of ownership from John Lennon to Gordon, Peter and Gordon Waller, and then to the current owners who were unsure about it in the sense that, yeah, that's guitar, but it meant nothing to them. It wasn't important. It was in boxes with all other stuff that they were suddenly going through after all these years and throwing out and downsizing. And it was the son that called us and said, I've heard about this guitar. This could be it. And so that's when we went on the journey. And he wanted to see it. He was so curious about it. So we went to his home, him and his wife, Barbara Bach, who lovely, they're friends of Julian's. And we had a nice afternoon. He was just loving the guitar. He played it. It sounds just like it was played back in the 60s. Really perfect. And then he took some photographs, which he will release himself. But he did feel that he was reunited with a long-lost friend. And we're estimating this guitar, conservatively, auction estimate 600 to 800,000, because it's the last known guitar that has been out there and people didn't know it's still in existence. So there might be the last opportunity for people to own something from the Beatles, such an important instrument, so well heavily played by John Lennon and George Harrison. And recently we brought it to Ringo Starr because he wanted to be part of it as well. Ringo is a friend. And so it's so historic. I think that this could be the guitar. We're looking at a ceiling. We'd love to break a 10 million sale for an item. And a Beatles guitar that has been seen for 50 years with such important history, so well documented, solid provenance. This could be the guitar.
nowadays, they're really good.
Do you mind taking a photo with me at this hall?
Of course.
Yeah.
You. So this is going to go into the more secure window there.
Here. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, I got it. Yeah.
And the stand gone in.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in.
Thank you everyone for being here. We are here today as Jewish Columbia and Barnard students who were arrested and suspended for peacefully protesting in support of Palestinian freedom on Thursday, April 18th.
And just to clarify, Soph and Sarah, you were both arrested, and Leah was not arrested but suspended.
That's right. Hundreds of us have been holding a peaceful protest on the lawn since April 17th. As students at Columbia, we have three demands. Divest all finances, including the endowment, from corporations that profit from Israeli apartheid, genocide, and occupation in Palestine. 2, provide financial transparency of all investments. And 3, ensure amnesty for all students and faculty arrested, disciplined, or fired in connection with the movement for Palestinian liberation.
As the media spins language of violence and ignores our story, they reveal their ignorance of the reality of Jewish life by portraying the Jewish people as a monolith and erasing the stories of the thousands of us fighting for a free Palestine. When I was marched out of the encampment in zip ties, I did not flinch. I walked into a space of love and joy, of solidarity and liberation, expecting to be met with violence by the institution I call home, simply because I cannot and could not stand to be complicit in our university's ongoing support for Israel's genocidal campaign. There are no universities left in Gaza, so we chose to reclaim our university for the people of Palestine. I was suspended from campus 3 hours before my arrest, along with 2 others of my peers, because I have been a vocal Jewish voice in the solidarity movement since early this year, and I was arrested on a violation for trespassing on my own campus.
It's indefinite, an interim suspension, indefinite.
I have never felt more proud to be Jewish and more in line with the values of my faith than when I was being taken out of Columbia's lawns with my hands zip-tied behind my back, alongside 107 other students, risking safety and suspension in order to push our university to divest from genocide, apartheid, and occupation in Palestine. In Zip Ties, I walked in the path of my Jewish ancestors, like my great-grandfather, who was part of the 1905 Russian Revolution. Like other Jews under the Tsarist regime, he was confined to the Pale of Settlement and experienced the constant threat of pogroms and the brutality of state violence. He risked his life to fight for a better world. I cannot, in good faith, honor his memory and ignore the checkpoints, the bombs, and the settler violence that Palestinians are subject to every single day. My college administration, my representatives in Congress, and my own president have continually acted as spokespeople for the Jewish community, equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. They silence us, suspend us, create barriers for us to practice our faith, so that they can say that we are a fringe group or that we're not real Jews. We, as Jewish students, have willingly and proudly put everything we have on the line because our vision is unclouded. We understand the immense and profound interconnectedness of it all, of us all.
Because they are in danger. What do you think about that? I mean,
months ago, I was sprayed with a noxious chemical on this campus. Multiple of my friends were hospitalized following the attack. I was bedridden for a couple days, and I felt extremely unsafe on my own campus. I feel unsafe when Columbia professors like Shai Davidai tell me I'll be on the last train to Auschwitz and then try to get into my university. And I think I empathize with individuals who feel uncomfortable with certain rhetoric, but I remind you that we live in a country and we go to attend a university that extremely values free speech, open dialogue, and rhetoric, and I would encourage everyone to listen to a variety of perspectives and to analyze what it means to not like something or disagree with something versus to actively be in a position of being unsafe. Because when you are arrested, dragged out in zip ties, and have red marks on your wrists for days after the fact, when you have a seizure in jail, like one of my friends did, when you have an asthma attack in jail, when you have your wrist dislocated, that is what being unsafe is. I've been called a capo many times in the last couple of months. I have never been called a Judenrat, which I deem as particularly disgusting, and I have not been told that I would be on the last train of Auschwitz. Many of us have families who are Holocaust survivors, and I think that, especially coming from a professor on our campus, this is one of the most hurtful things. I know that some of us have been called disgraces. I've been called self-hating. I've been called neurotic.
I myself, and I can only imagine how my Palestinian peers feel, have been racially profiled, harassed on the streets. Barnard students' hijabs have been pulled off of them. They've been questioned. The anti-Muslim hatred has not been acknowledged in any certain terms by this university, and I find it unacceptable that this unilateral focus from the press, and most of the targeting that I've experienced, almost all of it, has actually come from my supposed Jewish community who have abandoned and excluded many of us on the basis of our political convictions. So it is our own who are labeling us as disgraces, and these are some of the most hurtful and deeply anti-Semitic remarks that I've ever been on the other side of.
Recently, I had the privilege and the pleasure to speak to over 200 of my colleagues across various campuses, and we all discussed what the future of this movement would look like. We compared demands, we compared the repressive environments, and we all shared a similar sentiment that we would not stop, we will not rest until our universities divested from genocide, divested from apartheid, divested from occupation. We all share the same spark, and we all understand that the youth will lead this movement. We are the next generation, and we do not stand for hatred, we do not stand for bigotry, we do not stand for violence. And as a Jewish student, and the Jewish groups I've been communicating with, we do not stand for this in our name.
So that's it. If anybody needs any kind of follow-up information, come talk to me.
Als nächstes hat das Wort für 1 Minute der Kollege Radačovský.
Kolegyne a kolegovia, nemyslím si, že niekto chce zničiť. Dôležité je to, že poslednýkrát vystupujem v tomto parlamente a želal by som celému parlamentu, celému svetu, celej Európe, na Ukrajine, Rusom a Ukrajincom. Želal by som im mier a z toho dôvodu dovolte mi vypustiť holubicu mieru na znak toho, že Európa potrebuje mier. A nech táto holubica mieru lieta nad celou Európou. Nech táto holubica mieru nás všetkých spája. Nech táto holubica mieru je signálom toho, že to, čo najviac potrebujeme, je mier.
Thank you.
We need peace. All Europe need peace.
Can you catch it as well?
He goes at home.
55, point of order.
Oui, Monsieur le Président, un rappel au règlement, l'utilisation d'un animal mis dans sa banane comme un simple objet, aujourd'hui, pour faire une déclaration, un message de paix, vous allez faire comment maintenant pour récupérer cet animal, Monsieur? Où est le bien-être animal dans le geste qu'a fait cet intervenant? Je trouve ça absolument inacceptable.
Merci Madame la collègue. Je suis d'accord avec vous et on va rapporter cet incident à notre présidente et on espère que l'animal va bien s'en sortir. Bellamy.
Merci Monsieur le Président. Madame Rose, je partage votre...
I'm extremely concerned about the starvation tactics. I mean, all of it. What I don't understand is why we keep sending money for genocide. I don't understand why we keep rubber stamping that. It's very upsetting. In fact, all of the Jews that I know and love, my family and friends, are all horrified by what the Biden administration is doing. And so I worry that he's losing a lot of support. Jews tend to be activists and to be the people who go out and drive people to the polls and who actually, I've done poll observing before, but I'm going to find it very, very hard to fill in that oval for Biden.
Senator Schumer, your Jewish constituents and the vast majority of the U.S. demands stop arming Israel. Stop arming Israel. Stop arming Israel.
Checkpoint. Are you going to be pulled out and told to show the Israeli soldiers your full?
We know that this year, Passover is different than all other Passovers because of what the Israeli government and military are doing in our name. This year, we will not just open our doors and say, let all who are hungry come and eat. This year, we opened our doors and we walked out into the streets.
So tell them what needs to be done. So I'm going to tell you all.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Amen. Next year in freedom, next year in liberation. Amen.
Zionism has brought us to our present moment of cataclysm, and it is time that we say clearly, it has always been leading us here. It is a false idol that has led far too many of our own people down a deeply immoral path that now has them justifying the shredding of core commandments. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet. The commandments brought down from the mount. It is a false idol that equates Jewish freedom with cluster bombs that kill and maim Palestinian children.
Zionism is a false idol that has betrayed every Jewish value, including the value that we place on questioning a practice embedded in the Seder itself with its 4 questions asked by the youngest child.
I've been in my apartment in the West Bank, hearing the roars of the F-16s flying above me.
To the Chuck Schumers of this world, we do not say, let our people go. We say, we have already gone, and your kids, they're with us now.
You're sending bombs, how can you sleep?
Where are we stuck in oppression? Where are we going? What is the vision of our future? I will ask you, what are the tools for liberation? We stand here broken. Where are we going to be? Liberation!
Next up, I am so honored to bring up our Columbia.
If Chuck Schumer votes any minute to send billions more to Israel for what is essentially a slush fund for the Israeli military to continue to carry out this genocide, it should haunt him the rest of his career. It is unforgivable.
Palestine now! Free 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 Palestine now!
The energy you feel here tonight is where history is headed. It's toward justice, toward freedom, toward equality, and all of those who are continuing to arm and fund this genocide will be understood as doing just that.